The dying sun burned low over the golden prairie, spilling amber light across endless grass. The day had been cruel. Dust and gunpowder still hung in the air. Near the old oak at the edge of the valley, a man lay half-conscious, blood drying on his torn leather shirt. His name was Talon Greyfeather, a warrior of the plains, half spirit, half scar. A single horse neighed in the distance, fading into silence. From the far ridge, Evelyn Carter rode hard, her pale dress whipping in the wind. She had seen the smoke of the skirmish from miles away. When she reached the oak, she found him there, leaned against the trunk, a rifle resting by his side, his chest heaving shallow breaths. "Don't move," she whispered, dropping to her knees. Her hands trembled as she tore a strip from her sleeve, pressing it against his bleeding shoulder. His eyes flickered open, dark as storm clouds. For a moment, neither spoke. The prairie wind carried only the whisper of dying grass. "You should go," Talon rasped. "They'll come back." "I'm not leaving you here," she said firmly. "You saved me once when those riders came through the creek." He blinked, remembering. Weeks ago, he had pulled her from the river when a wild mustang had thrown her off her path. Now fate had turned the circle. Blood for mercy. She poured water from her canteen, wiping the dust from his face. The sun sank lower, shadows stretching long and thin. Somewhere far off, a coyote cried, lonely and eternal. She could feel his pulse weakening beneath her touch. "You're burning," she murmured. Talon smiled faintly. "Then let me burn beneath your hands." Her breath caught. For a moment she forgot the fear, forgot the world. Only the sound of his heartbeat and the dying sun painting fire across the sky. When the last light vanished, she dragged him to her wagon, hidden beyond the ridge. She tore more cloth, made a bed of blankets, and stayed by his side through the night. He drifted in and out of fever dreams, visions of smoke, horses, and lost brothers. Sometimes he whispered in his language, soft syllables that sounded like prayers. She didn't understand the words, but she felt their weight. And as dawn touched the horizon, she whispered back, "You're safe now." Outside, the world slept. But inside that wagon, something old and sacred began to stir, a fragile bond born of blood and silence. Days passed. The prairie turned from gold to ash under late summer storms. Evelyn tended to Talon with patience and quiet care, cleaning his wounds, boiling herbs she'd learned from old travelers, and reading aloud by lamplight when the nights grew too long. He healed slowly, his strength returning like dawn after a storm. Yet something lingered between them, an unspoken truth neither dared to touch. She was the daughter of a frontier preacher. He was a warrior branded as savage by the same townsfolk she called kin. Their worlds were meant to stay apart, divided by law, blood, and ignorance. One evening, as rain drummed softly on the wagon roof, Talon spoke for the first time about the battle that had nearly taken his life. "They came at dawn," he said quietly. "White riders. Took our horses, burned our camp." I tried to hold the line so the children could run. Evelyn's hand froze over the bowl of broth. "And your people?" He looked away. "Gone. Some may be alive, but the land remembers." The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. She reached out, touching his arm. "You don't have to be alone anymore." He met her eyes. Blue meeting black, storm meeting flame. "You don't know what it means to carry war in your blood." She smiled sadly. "Then teach me what it means to carry peace." Outside, lightning flared, and for a heartbeat the world felt new again. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her skin. "You're not afraid of me?" "I was," she admitted, "but not anymore." For the first time he laughed, a sound low and rough but full of life. That night, beneath the thunder, they sat together in silence. No vows, no words. Only the soft rhythm of two hearts learning how to beat in harmony. When the storm broke at dawn, Talon stood on his feet again, gazing toward the horizon. "They'll hunt me," he said. "The soldiers don't forgive men like me." Evelyn stepped beside him. "Then we'll keep moving, together." He turned to her, the wind lifting his hair like wings. "You'd leave everything for me?" She nodded once. "Everything except the truth of what I feel." And so, beneath the pale morning sun, two souls rode west, toward the line where land meets sky, chased by law, legend, and destiny. Weeks bled into months. The frontier was vast and merciless, but for Evelyn and Talon it became a quiet sanctuary. They found shelter in the canyons, hunted wild game, and built a small camp near a river that sang at dusk. Every sunrise felt like stolen time. But peace is fragile in a land born of war. One evening, while Talon was gathering firewood, a column of riders appeared on the ridge. Men in blue coats, rifles shining beneath the red sun. Evelyn's heart froze. She knew them. Federal scouts. They had been tracking Talon since the day he escaped the massacre. She ran toward the tree line, shouting his name. "Talon, they've found us!" He appeared from the shadows, calm, his eyes filled with ancient fire. "Go to the river. Hide there." "I won't leave you," she said, gripping his arm. He looked at her, then pressed his forehead to hers. "You gave me life when I was already gone. Now let me give it back." Before she could protest, he turned and walked into the open field, rifle in hand. The riders halted, their leader raising a hand. "You there! Drop your weapon!" Talon stood tall, the dying sun behind him painting his figure in gold. "This land is not yours to claim," he called out. "It never was." The first shot cracked through the silence. Dust rose, horses screamed. Evelyn screamed too, running from the trees, tears streaming down her face. By the time she reached him, the world had gone still again. Talon lay by the same kind of oak where she'd first found him, blood on his shirt, peace in his eyes. She fell to her knees, cradling his head, whispering his name again and again. "Please." "Not again." He touched her cheek with a trembling hand. "Don't cry. The sun is setting, and it's beautiful." Then his hand fell and the prairie went silent. The riders turned away, leaving her with the wind and the fading light. Evelyn stayed by his side until the stars came out. She buried him beneath the oak, marking the grave with his rifle and a feather he always carried. When dawn came, she mounted his horse and rode west where the sky never ended. Years later, settlers would tell stories of a woman who wandered the plains at sunset, whispering to the wind. They said if you listened close, you could hear her voice calling one name over and over: Talon. And beneath the dying sun, their love still burned, forged in blood and bound in silence.